Welcome to the Scott McGlynn Show podcast. Please welcome your host. It's Scott McGlynn.
Welcome back, guys, to the Scott McGlynn Show. And today I've got Andrew Jenks on the phone. How are you?
Hey, Scott. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How is New York? How is everything over there?
It's all very surreal, and people have definitely seems to be staying inside. Everyone wears masks now. That's kind of the new normal.
Yes.
So we'll see. How about yourself?
Yeah, well, over here we've just been announced we're going to be on lockdown a little bit longer, but I think everyone's playing by the rules as much as they can be, but. The weather's lovely. Like the summer has just come out of nowhere. So
oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's quite nice to have that, not rain, because the UK is famous for rain. So
yeah.
How is it like sunny with you, or is it just?
It's been a weird, fairly rainy last few weeks. But as you said, summer's coming. The sun's out a little bit later in the day recently, so no complaints. My friends and family are healthy, and so I'm not going to complain. That's for sure.
Yes, absolutely. That's all it comes down to, isn't it? Just play safe and everything's good. But thank you so much for coming on. And I'm going to geek out a little bit here because I watched one of your documentaries and it gripped me emotionally. I think I posted on social media everywhere and everyone was messaging me about it. I come back. Some of the listeners might know this one. I don't know why, but I don't know if Netflix in the UK just released it. I'm not too sure, but yeah, I found it and I was just like, what the heck? Where was this in my life? Because I love these kind of documentaries and God, you got me. But So I put it on social media. I told all my friends about it, and every single one has the same reaction as I do. But yeah, thank you, Andrew, for that, for doing this documentary. But it's it's called Dream/Killer, and I don't know where to start with this because it was back in 2005, right? That's when this whole case come about.
Yep, that's exactly. Yeah, that sounds exactly right. 2005. Yeah.
So I've been doing loads of research on Andrew because you do so many things, so many incredible things, and was this kind of one thing you really wanted to go down? It's like this route, or do you just read about it and thinking I want to do something on this?
Yeah, it's a strange story. So Dream Killer was. About a young man who had been wrongfully incarcerated, put in prison for a murder, and someone else had essentially had a dream that this young man, Ryan, was the one who committed the murder. And I was actually pitching another documentary to a film producer in Los Angeles, and probably somewhere around 7 years ago. And I was pitching it to him, and I was excited about it. And he very kindly passed, said no thanks. His name is Chip Rosenblum, and so Chip said no thanks. That's not really up my alley, but. And Chip is from Missouri, and he told me about this case about this young man who might have been wrongfully incarcerated for a murder he didn't commit. And he said, "There's this story from where I'm from. Would you be at all interested, potentially, in making a documentary about it?" And so at first I think as I recall, I said yeah, I'll look into it. I don't know if I took it particularly seriously. And then I did some research online, saw more about the case, and ended up, dropping a lot of the things that I was working on and going ahead and starting the long process of making a film about how this could happen.
Yeah, like because it got released in 2015. So when did you like start filming this? Like, was it in the middle of it all still, or was it like all the court stuff being passed, and then you just got on the documentary and you just went ahead and just did what you could?
Yeah. Ryan was sentenced to essentially life in prison. Maybe it was technically like 40 something years, but as I best recall, it was pretty much a life sentence.
Yeah.
And so we went to Missouri, myself, my camera guy, audio guy, and a producer, small crew, maybe 4 of us, went to Missouri and got to know his family, got to know him, and realized once you did a little bit of research that he was certainly innocent. And so set out, and this was about 6 or 7 years into him being in prison.
Right.
And so the plan was to make a movie that would prove his innocence. And so we would do recreations of the murder or of what the police said had happened. We would pretty much really make a movie doing a bunch of recreations. And the plan was the movie would come out and show that Ryan was innocent, and that the district attorney, the local lawyer, if you will, had manipulated all this evidence. What happened was we were about done editing, and it was a little over 9 years into Ryan being in prison. We had been working on the movie for, I want to say, a couple of years, and all of a sudden, the charges were vacated. In other words, Ryan was let out of prison. After 9.5 years, the American courts realized the injustice, realized that they had it all wrong, and they let him out. Yeah. So that was awesome. The only thing that we had to figure out was we still hadn't made our movie, and now our movie didn't really matter because it was about how he was innocent, and now he had been declared essentially innocent.
Yes.
So we decided to change the whole movie and make it about Ryan's dad and his sort of 9.5-year odyssey in figuring out a way to get his son out of prison. So we restructured the whole thing and made it more about his dad's journey than about proving Ryan's innocence.
His dad, I think everyone would just wish his dad like that, right? He was just so lovely. Oh, he was so adorable. He's a lovely guy. I don't even know him, but
no, he is. He's I mean, exactly. I'm kind of like you. You're at a loss of words. He's just an exceptional human being.
Yeah, he is such adorable. And but it must be because are you into crime? Are you kind of, does that interest you? Because it interests me. Obviously, I don't do it as a career, but like it does interest me. In these documentaries, I'm like hooked straight away. So before doing this, was you kind of like into that kind of like the crime kind of things? Are you into stories like that before this one?
No, not in particular. I can't say that I had focused on. It's a great question, Scott. I can't say I had focused on these sorts of things in the past. I had made a movie about living in a nursing home. I had made a movie about a Japanese baseball team. I had made a TV show about people from different walks of life, but none of those had covered wrongful incarceration, or maybe there was a little bit of crime in there, but nothing like this.
Yeah.
So I think it really was when Chip, the producer out of Los Angeles, approached me with a project, and I was looking at some of the facts of the case and seeing that Ryan at the time was in his in his mid to late 20s. He was about my age, and I thought it was just not to get on my high horse, but it was like an important story to tell. And so it was kind of one of those opportunities where you can't say no, and you got to go. The right thing to do is go and make that movie. So that was my first attempt, or my first time in that sphere, that orbit of kind of a true crime documentary.
Yeah, I honestly, Andrew, I'm not having this because you're on my show, but it was absolutely beautiful, and I've watched so many documentaries, and crime is one of my favorite things to watch. But you're like, I don't know what it is, I don't know what was about it, but like I just really got emotional, and like I said earlier, I told all my friends to go and watch it. You have to watch this one, and they always had that emotion. It's like you really got us in the heart, you know.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, I mean, that means a lot. So thank you. Yeah, I think part of it too. I mean, a big part of it is just how inspiring Bill, who's the father, and Ryan, his son, were, in the sense that they never let themselves. They never felt bad for themselves. There was never any sense of self-pity. They never were thinking, oh, why us? Which would have been totally reasonable to think. It's such a horror show that they were put through for no reason.
Yes.
But they just had this resiliency that I think is really inspiring.
Yeah. And I think it's like a family unit, and knowing that, the dad just knew he would never do something like that, and just stick by it for like nearly 10 years. That's just like, I think that what really grabbed like the heartstrings,
Yeah. No, totally. Absolutely.
But when I see it, and I've seen loads, Andrew, honestly, and I'm like, geez, this one really, I just couldn't. I think I watched it like again from the beginning, because we just start off. It's like, oh, watched it just to kind of get my head around it.
Right.
But now I'll probably watch it about 6 times since the first time seeing it, because I just enjoy it. Yeah. But yeah, and the good thing I think about this one is like this, like you don't really hear a story like this in these kind of documentaries. Not like a 100% innocent person who went to prison. I haven't anyway. There might be some out there, but you just see documentaries that is actually these people have done these things, and that's how it's kind of come about. But so I think it's very important for people to see this one, only because like how quickly like your life can change when you've done nothing.
Yeah, that's an important part of it, is that I thought was important was Ryan was 19 years old when he was arrested. A good-looking white guy, middle class, had done nothing wrong, and was just pulled to the side of the road one day and arrested for murder. And there was a district attorney, kind of the lawyer in charge, who manipulated all of this evidence, and he's now a judge, actually, and Kevin Crane. And so I think, and the reason that I say a good-looking white guy is because with a lot of other documentaries, which are some great documentaries, the person who goes to prison or is wrongfully incarcerated, there's an element of racism, or there's an element of socioeconomic status, or maybe there's something mentally wrong with them and they've been tricked. Ryan wasn't any of those things. And so it shows how the American judicial system is really flawed at its core, where you can't always, it can really be anyone. You think maybe it can't happen to you, but it actually can. And a lot of that is because a district attorney, again, a kind of a term in America that means the local lawyer who has the power to put people in prison or not, has essentially immunity. So they can make up evidence, they can fabricate evidence, they can pull eyewitnesses into saying things they wouldn't otherwise say, and even if they're caught, they very rarely, it's happened a handful of times, will get in any sort of trouble for it.
Yeah, and that's one scary thing is because obviously when you're getting judged, people doesn't care really about your side. They're just listening really to this person. And remember this person, it was about, how many was like 2, 3 people. He kind of twisted the words around and stuff like that. And I don't want to give too many spoilers away, to be honest, because if you haven't seen it, guys, you have to go and see it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give too much away, but honestly, when I saw it, I was like, I got to get this guy on the show, and I'm so glad you agreed to this because.
Of course.
So anything I know everything's on hold in the world right now, but have you got anything lined up? Any more things we're going to be seeing from you documentary wise?
Right now, I am working on a few things. The most current project that I have right now is a podcast. There's 2 podcasts that I currently write and host and produce. One is called GANGSTER CAPITALISM.
Yes.
And season 1 was about the college admission scandal here in the States. Where a bunch of parents, including some celebrities, got caught cheating on their SATs and entrance exams for their kids.
Oh,
and
okay.
Yeah, and season 2 is about the NRA, the National Rifle Association, and then I have another podcast called What Really Happened. So those are the kind of the projects that are taking up most of my time right now, and then a few others in the pipeline.
I know you got to live a podcast, right? Yeah, I've listened to a couple of What Really Happened. That was the one I've been listening of yours.
Oh, cool.
More of, but I can't believe you've got 2 on the go, Andrew. You got to give me your tips. Jeez. I can only manage one. But Ed, how about documentaries or anything in the film? Because we know you do a lot of writing. You do so many different things. You're so creative.
Well, that's nice of you. Right now I'm working on a potential documentary series on following a high school group of high school seniors for 1 year and seeing what it's like to be a senior in high school in 2020, and really understanding kind of what teenagers are going through these days. I think it's sometimes captured, and but we're really trying to understand sort of the layers and the complexities involved these days, and different milestones involved in your final year of high school before you go off to college. And so we're waiting. We're right now looking for a school. We'd be following them for the next year.
Oh wow, that's so interesting. God, you hooked me for life as a fan. I'm telling you, but that's so interesting because how old are you, Andrew?
I am 34.
I'm going to be turning 33 in a couple of days.
Okay.
So obviously when we was growing up, phones, they weren't a thing, and how people looked on life, I think, was completely different.
Yeah.
And so, it'd be quite interesting. Because I always said it would be lovely to go back to your old high school and walk the halls you used to walk in and see maybe a teacher or two maybe still there. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, but mine got completely knocked down and they redone the whole thing. So so that's not going to happen for me. But it's interesting, right? It's kind of, I don't know. When you get older, I think that when it was school time, that's kind of the easy time of people's lives with no bills and rent and things to kind of worry about. And
it was it's a different time, and I think that's why people would watch it. I think high schoolers would be interested in watching it, but I think adults would just, you have such a visceral reaction and such strong ties and emotions towards your time in high school. So I hopefully it works out.
Yeah. Well, the parents would definitely be watching it anyway.
Right. Right.
Hunting him down, right? It's like, what have you been up to? Thank you so much for coming on. It was really lovely having you on. And
thank you, Scott.
Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your day, Andrew.
All right, Scott. You too. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Scott McGlynn Show podcast. Make sure you tweet us at Scott McGlynn and let us know what you learned or enjoyed from the show today. And make sure you subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeart Radio.